I first saw this young superstar when I was calling golf at the Content Classic at Eastlake in 2024. Her name's Aimee Cho, and there she is. Welcome to our show. How are you?
Hi, Mark. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm great. Hey, listen, I've gotten to know you from afar. I've done a swing analysis on you, but now I have you in my grasp to share all your insights. So I want to kick us off with this. You've been an All American college, you turned pro, you teach lessons around the world. If there was one thing that you were to say that was going to help people improve their golf, what would that be?
I call it Aimeefying. Aimeefying means
Amy.
making golf simple, fun, and effective.
Uh-huh.
Golf is so complex, so I want to put it into easier words for everybody to be able to understand and actually do it physically as well. So Aimeefying.
I love it. All right, cool. Let's get to know Aimee Cho. Your story is fascinating. I've looked, you grew up in New Zealand, then you moved to the States, All America at the University of Florida. Tell us the quick story how you came to where you are now. You're a YouTube star with hundreds of thousands of followers.
Yeah, actually, I started golf when I was in Korea. When I was about six, I started.
Okay.
And golf there is super expensive. So we immigrated to New Zealand. That's where I idolized Trevor Immelman.
Okay, right. Okay.
We all did over there in
But
New
wait,
Zealand.
but wait a second.
Yeah.
He's the great golfer. I'm
Mhm.
the better brother, right? Yeah, yes.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
I found out about you and I was like, oh, Mark,
All right, let's go. Okay, so you're in New Zealand. You found out about Trevor. You got more into golf. Keep going.
Yeah, so I was representing the women's team, the junior team at such a young age. When I was like 12 or 13, I started representing New Zealand. And then I got to a point where I wanted to start working with David Ledbetter, and
Hmm.
he was in Orlando at the time. So, I won like Junior World Putting Championship held by Dave Pels
Yeah.
at the age of 13, and then ended up in Orlando that year. So we started working with David, and that's how we eventually moved to Orlando to be
Okay.
closer to my coach, and went to Florida because I wanted to come home every weekend to work with him on my
And you were very successful there, All American. This is on the top of my head because we have thousands of aspirant golfers who listen to this. A lot of golfers who start young. I've, been in golf forever as well. My question, I guess, is this. It seems to me that golfers nowadays, because when I watch young Korean kids, especially the girls,
own.
the discipline, the work ethic, like you say, I moved countries to go and work with a coach. I want you to help people and say, look, golf doesn't come easy. You got to really work at this thing. Are you getting where I'm going?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I see a lot of kids in LA area that wants to golf, wants to become professionals, but there's a lot of distraction in the LA, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Beautiful weather, beautiful beaches and, skiing areas and all that, traveling, all that stuff, which isn't like not unheard of when I was growing up golfing because I was focused on golf. It
Uh-huh.
takes so much devotion, motivation, a lot of hours on the golf course to get to even college golf. Um, so when I started golfing when I was six, my mom took me to the range every day. Like
Yeah.
we never skipped a day. And when I tell this story to my students, they're like, "How do you practice every day?" I'm like,
Mhm.
That's what you have to do." So it just takes a lot of work ethic and a lot of hours, as you know.
Oh, yeah. So much so, I think that, everyone playing the game, people that want to play it at a high level, let's say, even say, go from juniors to college and
Mhm.
then maybe go to the pros beyond there. But everyone is like, well, I want the bright lights and I want to be winning tournaments and stuff. But no one really realizes how hard you guys work to have gotten where you did.
Yeah, that is very true. Kind of similar to being a YouTuber, because we always look like we're having fun, we have a lot of energy. So they think YouTubers don't put a lot of hard work into it. But behind the desk, I'm editing all day, every day to just make that 10-minute clip. It's kind
Mhm.
of similar to that. When you're on the golf course, you're in a beautiful environment with great, air and, trees and all the beautiful scenery there. So people don't realize that, but actually, just like, you have to put in a lot of work that people don't see.
Mm. The social media handles and the YouTube page, folks, is Golf with Aimee. Um, what was the inspiration from this? How did Aimee Cho get from, successful golfer to all of a sudden being an instructor and an instructor to millions, with your YouTube channel? I'm very interested at that pivot.
Yeah, so what happened was I've always struggled with back injuries.
Okay.
I'm very flexible with not enough muscular strength to support my back.
Hmm.
So I always struggled with it. And then once I turned pro, I was supposed to be like the Tiger Woods of LPGA, and that's all I had on my mind.
Right.
And once I turned pro, when I was 22, I hurt my back really badly. So the doctors told me I couldn't golf anymore, like ever again. So that was very devastating. Worst couple of years of my life because I couldn't golf anymore and I was in pain. Like I couldn't even sit down or lay down because I was in so much pain. So I was forced to quit golf.
Hmm.
So I started a small business. And at the time, growing up golfing, all I did was talk to the golf ball, never talk to people, right? So I was like this little introvert. I couldn't even make eye contact with people because I was afraid they're gonna speak to me and I had to speak back. So
Hmm.
so when I started my small business, I was selling accessories in the mall. So I had to like grab people to make sales. And I think that's when I started like learning that I actually like interacting with people and I like speaking to people. So that was a huge help. Now I'm looking back for my instructor career, I think, to represent myself in front of strangers. So I did that, and then my back got better. So I tried again, but during Q school's always during the winter time. So I hurt my back again because it was cold and stuff. And that's when I had to completely like quit golf, and I decided to move to LA because there's nothing for me to do in Orlando.
Yeah.
A lot of my relatives wanted me to move to LA, meet someone nice, and get married. So I came over
You did.
here and yeah, and I really was bored. So I started teaching. And then like my teaching career took off like right away. First month, it just word of mouth, it took off. And then I was also approached by a Korean American TV station to do a instructional like TV program. I worked with them for 2 years and I think they were uploading onto YouTube with
Mhm.
our clips. And then that's when I initially built a small fan base. And then once I stopped working with them, all my fans started like emailing me. They wanted me to start my own YouTube channel. And that's when I sort of got pushed into YouTube. And I started my channel back in 2015, which is very early.
I'll say. And now you're one of the foremost golf people on YouTube. Um, all right. You've got all of this experience. You got this incredible channel with a lot of good stuff. I've watched a lot of it
Thank
after I got to know you last year. Folks, she has an incredible looking golf swing, incidentally. It's on my social media. I'm sure they can find it there on yours. Um, But as I listen to everything you talk about, Aimee, so many folks can get so technical with golf and so technical with, what have I got to do to make the ball go there? You do that, but you've got this uncanny way of making it still like having a playing influence. You'll talk
you.
about technique, but
Mhm,
it's always directed to, okay, this is how it goes on the golf course kind of thing.
mhm.
Quickly explain to people why that's so important, because I feel like the mistake that people are making with all the information that's out there is they're like, okay, if I get my wrist here, I'm going to play better. But that couldn't be farther from the truth. So I'd love your take there.
Right, right. I mean, golf swing is so complex. There's like maybe 12 different movements you have to do in like 1 second span time, right? So it's really complex. You have to work on different parts separately on the driving range. But, with amateur golfers, the biggest thing is for them to actually enjoy their time out there, is what I think. So just to save them from misery, because golf will make you miserable.
Yeah.
So I have all the information up here, obviously, growing up golfing. So I just take that in and then I look at a golfer and then I just prioritize what they need to work on. Let's say like a golfer has like 20 things that have to work on.
Yeah.
Then I prioritize it. So if they work on one thing, it'll just kind of make the rest of like dozen things better, like
Yeah.
automatically. So that's why I call it Aimeefying. You work on like the simplest things that will help you the most. And something you can actually make work on the golf course. So that way you're like enjoying the round and then you're enjoying the game more.
Yeah.
Golf gets really stressful. So
Yeah, it does.
the worst thing you can do is like dig deep in there and start thinking about complex stuff.
Must ask this question. You got my head spinning here. once you've Aimeefied your game, and you talk about golf being stressful, but I don't care how good your swing is and how well you're playing, there is pressure. I'd love you to share maybe just one take, something you might have done when you were playing, just to kind of lower the stress level some. I know we can't avoid it, but just how do we deal with the nerves and the pressure and that sort of stuff?
You know, it's really funny because my mom is really into videographing and photographs ever since
Okay.
I was very young. So she would have my dad buy like video cameras from the States and bring it to Korea because we didn't have any back in the 80s.
Mhm.
And she would film us. And my sisters hated being filmed. But I have like footage of me like waving, like, film me, not my sisters. Like I just love the attention and I love being on camera. So ever since I was young, I just loved the attention when I was golfing and I was in the leader group and the cameras are on me. I played even better. Like,
Okay.
even at Creator Classic, they're like, "Were you nervous?" I was like, "I was really nervous until I stepped onto the first tee and I saw like 20 cameras. Then I calmed down."
All right.
So, so I've always sort of been someone that actually excelled in that spotlight, but I realized not many people are that way. And I really think you just have to experience it more. I
Yeah.
notice people are more used to cameras being on them through YouTube and Instagram. So a lot of people are actually comfortable in front of the cameras, which I think cameras equal pressure because
Yeah.
your thoughts are going everywhere thinking about cameras. So
Mhm.
I think experience is really important to overcome
Awesome.
that.
Right. Love it. All right, folks, we're going to Aimify your game with Aimee Cho. Aimee, you shared 5 ideas with me, which I thought were cool because, in typical Aimee Cho fashion, it dealt with everything mental, emotional, from the first tee through the green. So let's start, shall we?
Awesome.
I'll
Awesome.
tee you off and let you comment.
Okay.
First thing you said was, okay, improve your weaknesses, but be aware of your strengths.
Hmm.
Use statistics. Now, I think that's so crucial because so many golfers are like, well, my bunker play is bad. And then they just work on that. Then the rest of it goes bad. So I want your professional take, please.
Yeah, I mean, keeping statistics would apply to most of the amateurs, except for maybe beginners. So if you're shooting in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, if you're able to keep score, I
Mhm.
think everybody should be keeping statistics.
Okay.
There's so many apps out there that help you with that. Just basic stuff like how many fairways are you hitting, greens, and then how is your up and downs and sensei percentage, and how many putts are you hitting every round. I think just those basic stuff, if you're keeping track of, then the app will calculate for you and it'll tell you what you're weak in. And then you work on that. For example, if your up and down percentage is poor, then you go first of all work on your chipping fundamentals, right? Make sure your ball position is good, make sure you're anchoring down on the front foot and making sure you're using the bounce, etc., etc. And
Mhm.
once the chipping gets better, you have to work on your short putts. No matter how good you get with your chipping, if your short putts are bad, then your percentage isn't going to get better.
Yeah.
And then once your short putts get better, you work on your approach shots. If your irons are going all over the place, your up and down percentage is going to be terrible. Like
Yeah.
things like that.
I've got to ask this. Okay. Maybe this is me. Sometimes it sucks getting bad news. And oftentimes we think we're more of a golfer than what we might be. And so then we fill out these statistics and we fudge the numbers just a little bit. Because to really get these things to be beneficial, you got to be brutally honest with yourself. And then when you look at the stuff, it's not like I suck over there. It's like, oh, this is an opportunity.
Mhm.
Because I look at you and I feel like, yes, I want to do this because you're so positive. But you got to be able to look at this bad news and go, okay, that's not all bad news. That's actually stuff that I can turn strong.
Yeah, I think I turned optimistic because I was a golfer. Because if you're down on yourself, you're beating yourself up. You're just digging a hole in the ground, and you're gonna shoot the worst score ever. You have to pick yourself up. It's not a team sport. You've got to do the cheering up as well. So I think staying optimistic, keeping that glass half full, is very important, like you mentioned. And I notice a lot of my students tend to watch a lot of PGA Tour golf, and they see perfect shots on every hole so
Yeah.
they think, because they're humans, they think they play the same way. But if you keep statistics and you realize your up and down percentage is like 10%, then it kind of like gets you back on the ground and say, okay, you're not a PGA Tour pro.
You've got me thinking because, okay, I shouldn't date this because it's a podcast and it lives in the internet. But last week when I was calling the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro Am,
I saw you on TV.
I had Rory McIlroy's group on Saturday, and the weather was terrible. And he shot 65. And on 14, the par five, he hit this one tee shot that I thought was freaking incredible over the corner of the tree. And I'm out in front of him like 20 yards. I get to the ball and I turn around. He's like 40 yards in front of these playing partners. And I'm like, Rory, for goodness sake, man. And he looked at me, he goes, I didn't think it was going to be that good because I bottomed it. I hit it thin. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah, you hit it thin 310 yards. Okay. So that's the PGA Tour golfer. But Rory then goes, my focus has been to eliminate bogeys, which is basically sharpening up my short game.
mm,
And so I'm saying this to basically have you react where even someone as talented as him has
mhm,
identified, okay, there's a weakness. He called it inconsistent. I have
mhm.
to get more consistent around the greens to avoid bogeys. He did that and he wins the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, they're on a different level than us, obviously, but we're struggling in same areas, you know? It's just they're talking about like being, I don't know, like 98% with their chip up and downs. I don't know. But amateurs could be talking about moving from 10% to like 15%, you know? We're on
Yeah.
a different level, but I think we struggle with same areas.
Have you got an app that you recommend at all or not? The statistics?
Yeah, I actually found one that I really like. So I'm going to work with them this year, which I'm so excited about.
Okay.
It's called the Grint, and it really focuses in on the statistics, and
Okay.
it tells you, like, summarizes what your weaknesses are. Whereas it's like really easy to use. It has the GPS and the statistics. Whereas other apps, they have so many different things going on. It's really hard to use, but this is like hassle free. So I really like the Grint. You guys should try it.
Say that name again for me.
The Grint.
Grint. Okay. G
The
R
Grint.
I N T.
Yeah,
All right.
it's the Grint in as one word.
Gotcha. All right. Cool. Okay, folks, go check that out. Get some statistics, work on your weaknesses, but be aware of your strengths. Don't focus so hard on what you do badly. The strengths got to you to where you are.
Yes.
Second point, I love this. My daughter, in fact, did a golf tip on this the other day on her channel, and it's the importance of alignment. And
Hmm.
alignment's one of those things where you're like, oh goodness, it's so boring, and I can just hit. But alignment's that crazy thing where if you badly aligned, you're gonna have to make some swing mistake to get the ball to the target. So,
Exactly.
so you can get away
Exactly.
with bad alignment, but then you're forcing yourself to have to make a mistake. So I love your insight, please.
Yeah, I mean, alignment is so important. If you are aiming like 30 yards right of your target, you're going to miss fairways and greens. It's inevitable. And a couple of years ago, we had this rule change where tour pros are not able to get
Yeah.
caddies help to get
Yeah.
aligned. I mean, if pros are, getting help on every shot to get aligned, can you imagine how amateurs would be? It's so easy for the alignment to become off. That's
Yeah.
why a lot of pros use alignment sticks. See, we named the stick alignment stick because it helps with the alignment. So you have to calibrate your eyes on the driving range because it's so easy to really, stand incorrectly, especially on slopes out on the golf course. And a lot of golfers tend to stand closed to the target, and when that happens, your hand position is off, your club face orientation is off, your ball position is off. And because you're aimed closed, now you're looking at the target, okay, it's to the left. So either you end up yanking or flipping through, and it ruins your swing. And it'll take forever for you to get that back. I rather have amateurs stand open to the target because the worst thing you can do is really just push it out there. And it's a lot easier of a fix. Um, so you have to absolutely work on your alignment on the driving range because you're calibrating, teaching your body what square is. And then on the golf course, you can use intermediate target to line up your face to the intermediate target, and then your body stands parallel to that.
Okay. You said something I want to camp on a little bit. Um, and you talked about calibrating your eyes. Because for someone who's habitually aimed to the right, okay, the target looks a certain way. Then when we align ourselves appropriately, it looks wrong.
Yes.
But it takes that's where practice on the range comes in to calibrate our eyes, make sure we see and get used to seeing this target differently.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The calibration is absolutely needed. It might take you even 30 balls before you start realizing, okay, I feel like I'm 30 yards open, but this is actually straight, you know?
I want to go a little further too, because a lot of folks they might throw that alignment stick on the ground, then they check their feet, but then their shoulders all misaligned and they're looking all crooked, stuff like that. Talk to me about how I'm sure you focus on shoulders and body and eye line when you talk about alignment too, right?
Oh, yeah, that's very important. That's such a good point because I do realize, especially with drivers, because the ball position is up in your stance, you
Mhm.
move your hands up, which opens up your shoulders.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure to use, square up the shoulders as well. So the eye line, I don't, we don't want the head to be cocked back this way. We want the eye line, shoulders, hips, knees, toe lines to be all square, parallel to the target.
If you want a good model of this, folks, go and check out Amy's golf swing. It's like it fell out of heaven. Okay. Point number 3. You talk about pre-shot routine. Now, a lot of folks who listen to this podcast habitually have heard this. So I want to take that and say to you, Aimee, what in your mind makes a good routine? Because I see so many golfers where they might do the right thing, but they kind of look empty to me, like an
Mhm.
airplane on autopilot, instead of
Okay.
really being engaged with everything they do in that routine.
Yeah, so once I pick my shot and my club, then that's when the pre-shot routine begins, right? So I'll just kind of share my own pre-shot routine. So what I do is I go back behind the golf ball, I take one practice swing. I try not to do more than one. If the first one's terrible, then I do it again, but I stick to one, and then I
Is that a
hold up
full
my shot.
swing? Is that a full swing, or is that because certain players will like be doing something they're working on? You just make one free full swing, right?
I swing as if I'm actually hitting for the first
Okay. Oh,
time.
okay, got you.
Yeah, just the shot. Unless I'm working on something, I have to emphasize it, then I'll do what they do.
All right.
Or sometimes when I'm tired, I will not take a full swing.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like my routine thing. So one swing, and then I'll hold up my shaft to line up the target to the ball and pick an intermediate target about 6 to 8 inches in front of the golf ball,
Mhm.
like a grass that's different color or some dirt or whatever. So, and then I go into walk into the golf ball, staring at the intermediate target, and I line up my face to it, and then I grip, and then I get into my setup angles, and then I get my ball position and my feet alignment parallel to that. And then I look at the hole twice. So I check to make sure I am set up correctly alignment wise. And then the next time I look up, I draw an invisible line from the target back to the ball. And as I'm doing that, I'm breathing in. And then once the invisible line hits the ball, I don't stop there, but I continuously draw that line into my takeaway. So my rhythm is never broken, it's always flowing. So even when I'm nervous, I don't ever like do funky like movements. Um, so I go straight into my backswing. So if you listen to my pre-shot routine, it doesn't sound like I do much because I don't like do toe taps. I don't do waggles. I only look at the target twice, but majority of it is on alignment. That's how important alignment is. We're going back to that again, but majority of it is in alignment. A little bit of breathing, a lot of rhythm, and also if you have a good pre-shot routine, it'll actually help you with mental game because it helps you to stay present and not worry about, oh, there's the OB, there's the water. It actually helps you to focus in on that shot you're about to hit.
If your routine gets interrupted, do you restart or you just keep going?
I restart.
Okay. Yeah.
I
It's important.
absolutely restart.
It's important, I
'Cause-
think, because someone might be in it, then all of a sudden you're disturbed. Then it breaks, you use the term flow. It kind of breaks
Yeah,
the flow up a little bit.
yeah. Pre-shot routine is absolutely important to get your rhythm going. So your swing rhythm is consistent shot after shot. So if you're interrupted, then your rhythm is broken. So you have to start over.
Um,
And I learned that through research, it's important to keep your pre-shot routine anywhere between 8 seconds to 12-second window. Have you heard that?
no, no. Okay, look, I love that for various reasons because the less time you spend over the bowl, the less thinking there is, the less chance you got of ruining. But then
Yeah,
with nowadays, pace of play is such a big conversation. I feel like being athletic and keeping it short like that is really beneficial.
for in every area, right? So according to some research, like the PGA Tour ShotLink data, if you go under 8 seconds, then you're rushed and you're bound to make some mistakes. And then if you go over that 12 to 15-second window, then over analysis like kick in and tension builds up and you lose your rhythm. So you miss hit again. So 8 to 12 seconds is the optimal golden window. And for amateurs to achieve that, you just have to try it on the driving range figure out what gets your rhythm going, and then just practice it over and over and over, test it on the golf course, tweak it back and forth until you hit that 8 to 12-second window.
And then rehearse it so it becomes second nature. I want to say something to you that I heard on this very show, and then I want you to elaborate. It was from Hal Sutton, who is a Hall of Famer, won major championships, players' championships. He's done it all. And he made a statement, and he's like a strong man. And when he looks at you, he looks through your soul. And he said to me, Mark, I firmly believe that every shot, it either goes good or goes bad before the club's even swung. Because if you've hit a bad shot, it's because it happened, something happened before you swung the club. And I was like, I'm listening to him going, well, and the more I listened to him, the more I became convinced of this. Because, it's to your flow. If your mind's in the right place, you kind of stack the odds in your favor, I guess, to be able to make a good swing at it. I mean, do you think we're crazy here, or are you on board?
I totally agree with what you said and what Hal Sutton said. I mean, if we watch Tiger Woods in his prime days, his mind is controlling his ball flight.
It's
It's
true.
all like mental for him. Like he drains those like 40-foot eagle putts. I really believe what you just said. It all happens before you actually strike it.
Well, everyone's had that moment. You know where it is. And there was a guy on the show, Steve Yellen. He talked about the science of silence in your mind. Where you over a putt and you just know it's going to go in, and then it goes in. You had those moments, right?
Oh yeah, totally. You see it, you feel it going in. You're like, oh, I'm crazy, and then you drain it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have those moments.
Yeah, it is possible. Well, I guess it goes along with it. So the routine, you've shared your routine. I love it. I love the 8 to 15, 12, 15-second window. I think that's tremendous. Here's the stuff that people are going to love now.
Yeah.
Live in the era of power. You talk about driving distance and accuracy. I'm glad you added accuracy. And the reason why I say that, for most club golfers watching this, you are not as strong as Rory McIlroy to be able to hit wedges out of the rough. I don't care who you are. It's easier to play from the fairway. I'm just saying. Yeah, if it's a 5-iron, it's harder than a wedge. But still, playing from the fairway and long down the fairway is beneficial. And then you said you had a drill for this too. So talk about driving accuracy and distance, and then share
Yeah,
the drill.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I was going to mention, unless you hit it 350, you have to hit the
Sister, yeah, I
Well,
keep
the first
thinking.
thing I was going to mention.
All right, cool, go for it.
Yeah, so we're going back to the statistics. You have to absolutely hit the fairways in order to have a fair chance to hitting the greens and
Mhm.
making less mistakes. So accuracy is really important. And the past couple of months, I've been talking to some LPGA Tour pros, and when I asked them, like, there's old saying that you drive for show and putt for dough. Like,
Yeah.
do you agree with that? How do you feel? And most of the girls say, yes, you have to putt for dough. But nowadays, you have to drive for dough too. Like
Mm.
if you don't get it out there distance wise and accuracy wise, you have no chance. You don't even have a start.
Yeah.
So we have to hit it longer and straighter, obviously, with great equipment we have these days. And I'm gonna share a fantastic drill that worked great for me personally, and also for a lot of my students. So it's a swish drill. You're gonna take practice swings. Yeah,
Okay.
you're not gonna hit the ground. You're going to make swish sounds with your full swing with your driver, and you gotta listen very carefully where it swishes. So where you strike the ball is impact. When
Uh-huh.
the club head is about 3 feet past that impact, I call that the post impact area. You have to make the swish sound happen in your post impact area.
Love
So
it.
if you are casting or if you are using arms to power through the ball, you will most likely swish before the ball, which is terrible. And you're losing a lot of distance and accuracy doing that. So the more you try and figure out how to swish past the ball, eventually you're going to realize that you're going to start bottoming out the driver head before the ball and then catch the ball in a slight ascending angle. And
Mhm.
that is going to actually help you release the face beautifully. So it'll come back to the ball more square, have
Yeah.
higher chances of hitting the sweet spot with a square face, making it go straight. And also when it starts swishing louder and louder in the post impact area, you're gaining club head speed. So that way you're hitting it longer.
The teacher in me is completely on board with this, and I'll tell you why. And then I want your commentary afterwards. First off, I feel like people don't play with most folks don't play with the correct shafts and stuff.
Hmm.
If using the wrong shaft, that thing will be swishing at the wrong time.
Right,
And
exactly.
then secondly, You know, when you get to that long hole and you look up there and you're like, I really got to hit this now. Folks get into my hit the golf ball mentality as opposed to speeding up the club in the right area. And then that swing collects the ball kind of thing. So
Hmm.
I love your take because there's so many people like, I just got to hit the ball. I got to hit the ball. And then it's sort of slowed down and tight through contact. Well, yeah, you're saying get up there, aim properly, get the ball position right, but then let that thing go.
Yeah, like exactly when you have that pressure situation where you have to hit it really well, then people tend to lose the pause at the top and then it swishes like too early in the downswing. So it's
Mhm.
almost like golfers try to hit the ball in their backswing and then you slow down in the downswing. So if you do the swish drills, it'll force you to pause just the right amount to get that swish and the club head speed going.
Hey, audio listeners, you have to go to YouTube to go check this out to see Aimee demonstrate what it looks like to speed up in the backswing. It was quite cute and hilarious. That was brilliant. Okay. All right. So we got the ball long down the fairway now,
Yeah.
but you talked about drive for dough and putt for dough.
Yeah.
Here's what I know.
Yeah.
This is the saying that I have, Aimee, and I've said this forever. And I'm not the longest hitter in the world. Look, I don't play anymore, so it doesn't really concern me. But this is what I know for certain. Of all the ball strikers in the field, the person who puts the best out of the good ball strikers is likely to win.
Hmm.
And you cannot out hit a bad putter.
Hmm.
You can't. And then if you start missing short putts, then it filters back through the bag. You know, it hits the irons, and then
Totally.
you're forcing everywhere.
Everything falls apart.
So the last thing you've said to me here is like short putts,
Short putts.
and you have a
I mean,
drill for it.
yeah, I'm gonna share a drill again. When you're working on your putting, there's so many different aspects you have to focus on. There's like the fundamentals, and then you have to work on your lag putt, and
Mm,
then like middle distance putt, which are considered as like birdie chance putts,
yeah.
and then short putts are more like par putts, right? But I would suggest to start from the short putts first. If you can get the short putts going in, then your tempo becomes more controllable, and then you can just apply that technique to the rest of lag and middle distance putts. It just makes your life easier. So
Yeah.
start with the short putts, and I have this my one of my favorite drills. I named it BMF. So you take like a 4 footer, slightly uphill, fairly straight, just the easiest putt in the world, right? Take a four
Mhm.
footer, take 3 golf balls, and the first one, it's the B, right? You hit it to the back of the hole and drain it with a firm stroke. And then M is you dive the ball through the middle of the hole. And then the last ball, you would trickle it so it'll just barely make over the front edge of the hole. So back of the cup, middle of the cup, and then front edge of the cup. So it's BMF drill. So you take 3 balls and you just alternate, keep doing firm putts, medium putts, and then soft putts over and over. And once you are able to control that speed, then you're really ready to start working on different distances.
I love that because the read is a function of the speed at which the ball's going.
Exactly, exactly. That's the whole purpose of this drill. This is so
Yeah,
awesome.
well, that's what
So
I want people
there's
to
also,
realize, and I want you to build on this.
yeah,
You could be the best green reader in the world. If you're not hitting the ball at the appropriate speed, your read is a moot point. It means nothing.
useless. Yeah. So you're supposed to pick the speed first. And then if you decided to ram it into the back of the cup, then you're going to have to take less break.
Yeah.
But a lot of golfers tend to read the break first and then decide the speed, which is horrible, especially if you're on a severe downhill. You
Mhm.
pick the wrong line, then now you have to hit it really firm to get it on that, make work on that line. Then if you miss the hole, you're like way past the hole.
Yeah. Okay. I want to do this as like a bow, a nice little bow on this conversation. Too many golfers, if they do practice, I mean, and I'm saying if they do practice, they hit balls more than they practice putting. Please help us. Because putting is, for me, is like an afterthought. People will go to the golf course, hit a few balls, probably hit 1 or 2 putts, and then go. And then they wonder why they miss putts. So
Okay.
please help us.
So going back to the main subject today,
Yeah.
keeping statistics. So
Aimee
if you are
time.
shooting,
Yeah.
yes, if
No.
you are shooting 72, you're maybe putting, I don't know, maybe 29 putts per round. That's about like 40% of your score. 40%. So you should be spending about 40% of your practice on putting, wouldn't you think?
I
Just
would
makes
agree.
sense. Yeah.
I'm an
Yeah.
old college. Look, I'm an old college coach. Old, old and retired. Okay. I got all this gray hair from my college coaching career. Um, it's way easier to broadcast. Okay, here's what I want you to say. I'm like, if you're gonna hit one shot on the range, you have to hit 2 chips or pitches and 3 putts. That was the ratio I'd give these kids. And then
Oh,
it took me seriously. And then if I've watched them hit 50 balls, then they go and just kind of walk past the putting green. I'm like, no, you owe me 150 putts. And then what you would find them do is they'd go to the putting green first, then the short game area, then hitting. Then they'd go like putt, short game area, hit, short game area, putt on the way out. Instead of all the
mm.
time hitting on the range.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that ratio. 1 to 2 to
You,
3.
you could use
I
it.
should use that
1,
more.
2, 3. Yeah.
I think it'll save me from getting gray hair. Thank you.
I have to fix my beard. No, but the reality is this. Like I said, you know the worst. This is me. I'll share mine. I hate a misstruck shot. It just doesn't feel good. But you know what? You can get over a misstruck shot if it goes straight in the fairway or if it climbs on the green.
Mhm.
But when you're playing nicely there and then you suddenly miss that 4-footer, that is even worse than the misstruck shot.
It is.
Or if you're going along there, the best feeling is if you're hitting it crappy and all of a sudden you hole a long putt. It's amazing how you change the momentum so quickly. So it's
That
that
is
short
true.
club in your bag that has such a big influence on everything else.
You're totally right. Because you just made me kind of think about my emotions when I play.
Yeah.
And I totally agree to what you say. Putt really makes you feel happy and like super upset.
And you talk about short putts, and this is the last thing I'm going to say because I'm sure you got some videoing to do. Um, those short putts, it's a weird thing, right? Because let's say you're over 4 feet. In your mind, you're like, well, I'm supposed to make this,
Mhm,
or I shouldn't miss. And then if you make it, it's like, okay, well, that was expected. But if
mhm.
you miss it, then all of a sudden you send your mind into a tailspin as well. Because it's that, well, I should make this, I should make this. And you're almost waiting for the one that's going to miss. So
Oh,
you're not playing clearly. But if you work on this stuff, look, everyone's going to miss once in a while, but it's not like you're fearful of missing because you've got your speed dialed, like you were saying.
yeah, yeah. If you have that complete control over your speed, then you'll be less fearful because you know you have control over how fast the ball's gonna roll off your putter face.
Mm. Help me. I'm breaking my own rule. One more thing. I feel like the professional golfers do this very well. 3 putt avoidance, they are really good at.
Mhm.
So the distance control is good, but they hole out well.
Yes.
Okay, like you say, short putts. And then they also bounce back well.
Mhm,
Now, bounce back means that, the hole after a mistake, then you don't make a bogey, you make a par or better.
mhm.
It's also a function of kind of staying in the present, making a good short putt. And I
Yeah.
get back to Rory and I'll let you comment. Rory said to me, he goes, I look up to Scotty Scheffler in a way. I respect the way Scotty plays because he's just so consistent. And if he's in the lead, he's not coming back to you because he doesn't make soft bogeys. So you
Right.
have to go and get him. And
Tot
Rory recognizes not the birdie count that I need to improve, it's the bogeys and the mistakes I need to narrow down.
for sure.
Now, if you talk about short putts, if you make all your short putts, that's happening. It's almost guaranteed to happen. Yes.
Yes, yes, for sure. You have to make short putts. I mean, I had kind of issues with the 4 footers where, when I make it, I didn't like give myself a pat on the back because it was like 4 foot. And if I miss it, I'll get really upset. So I went through that phase when I was a junior golfer. So a little thing I do is I work on 6 footers and 9 footers. So
Okay.
the 4 footers look like tap ins once
Oh,
you drill
yeah.
in the 9 footers and 6 footers. So that's how I overcame getting upset over a 4 footer.
Wonderful stuff, Aimee. You're an expert. I'm so glad you would join us. I know that people are probably looking already if they're not in the car listening to this, but please share the social media handles, the YouTube channel where they can go and find you.
Yes, my channels are called the same names. Golf with Aimee, and Aimee is spelt the French way, Aimee.
Mhm.
That was New Zealand influence.
Yeah. That's Golf with Aimee. You do give private lessons or group lessons or outings like that? If so, how do they reach out to you?
Yes, I teach out at Alhambra Golf Course in the LA area. So you can just email me at info@mpswing.com. Info at M as in Mary, P as in Peter, and then like swing, golfswing.com. And then we'll get you set up.
Aimee, keep shining. You're tremendous. I love what you do. I'm so appreciative that you would join us, but what you're doing with all your tips for the golf world is truthful, it's helpful, and I'm thankful that you do what you do.
Thank you so much, Mark. This was amazing. So much fun.